All right, our next speaker is making her debut in front of you today. This is her first time around, and on live TV, on KWES, and on a worldwide audience on the internet. No pressure. But I think you're going to like what she has to say. The courage these students have is absolutely amazing. She's young, but don't let that preform your perception. She's dynamic. Please put your hands together for Miss Alexandra Papacek.
I came to dance, 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 dance. I hit the floor cause that's my plans. I'm wearing all my favorite brands.
Hi, my name's Alex Papacek, and I'm a 6th grader at Central Middle School. I've just finished 4 great years at Memorial Elementary, and I'd like to thank them for getting me to this point. But this year, I'm going over to Central Middle School. Let's give it up for the teachers and staff at Central Middle School! Earlier in the year, I was asked to participate in a panel discussion asking us students our thoughts on 21st century learning. I studied the questions in advance, and I thought I had a pretty good answer for every question. That's really how I handle all my classes and my young life. I love learning. I love competing. I sometimes see them as one and the same. Since I always want to be the best at what I do, like you want to be the best at your jobs, this is my job. School is my job. I do have a few responsibilities at home, but I get to concentrate mostly on my schoolwork, and that's about it. My only distractions are TV and games on the computer, and of course, my social life. But there's little that my parents let get in the way of me doing well in school. And quite honestly, I think even without the motivation and encouragement of my parents, I developed into a self-motivated child that'll do well no matter what my circumstances are. I'm not trying to brag, and I'm not wanting to sound egotistical, and that's just the way I am. I have a comfortable home that my parents provide for me, and a nurturing environment where I am loved and appreciated for what I contribute to. And that's not really a lot at my age. I have set goals, and some goals are set for me that are all about my success. You adults have given a lot of names for our now generation. We're being called names like the Lost Generation, the New Me Generation, and Generation Y. And according to some publications, the word of the year seems to be entitled. If we put a few of you adults together, I'm sure we hear other adjectives like self-centered and selfish with short attention spans. We're kids that have been coddled and spoiled by our parents and in school. We're given awards for just showing up. And we are repetitively told by both groups that we are special, just the way we are. We question authority. We think we deserve a lot for doing very little. And oddly enough, we think we have the right to stay dependent longer on our aging parents. Okay. With a show of hands, how many of you have a classroom filled with 30 students just like me? How many of you see students just like me walk through your classroom doors every day? You already heard from our keynote speaker, Dr. Victor Rios, and from Perla Sanchez, and we all know more about labeled at-risk students. But I'm on the agenda to talk to you today about how some of us students that have few obstacles in the way of learning, how we crave the use of 21st century learning in the classrooms to enhance our learning. But before I go on, I want us to read something together on the screen. Please join me. Maybe it'll show up, okay. Okay, ready? I see no hope for the future of our people if they are dependent on the frivolous youth of today. For certainly all youth are reckless beyond words. When I was a boy, we were taught to be discreet and respectful of elders, but the present youth are exceedingly wise and impatient of restraint. Well, that's a little mean. Well, interesting, huh? Let's read one more together on the screen. The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders and love chatter in the place of exercise. Children are now tyrants, not the servants of their household. They no longer rise when elders enter the room. They contradict their parents, chatter before company, gobble up dainties at the table, cross their legs, and tyrannize their teachers. So, let me ask you this. Can anyone guess who the author was from any of these two quotes? Could it have been someone from one of our churches? Maybe it was someone from the TRS worried about how we take care of your retirement. Well, the truth is, the first quote came from a fellow named Hesiod in the 18th century, BC. Did you get that? I said BC, before Christ. The second quote is my favorite. It was an important lesson that Plato learned from his teacher and mentor Socrates. And let's not even get into things said about some of you sitting in this very room that grew up in the 60s with your wild parties on Maxie Asger's dairy farm. I don't know, something called Woodstock? You went from the beaver cleaver generation in the 50s to the hippies in the 60s. And some of you are leaders in our communities and in our schools. My point is, you can go all the way back to time before Christ, to your very own memories sitting here today, about how kids like me were going to corrupt the future and force you into different professions or early retirement. We're no different than you. We don't have any less potential than you. We aren't any less visionary than you. But there is one major difference. We learn differently than you. Technology has been the only thing that has created a ginormous difference between our two generations. It's a simple fact. We have it, you didn't. It is what we're growing up with. It is placed in our possession as early as we can grasp things with our little hands. And you are placing it there for us. You bought us Angry Birds at the age of 2, Xboxes and Nintendo sets at the age of 6, and smartphones at the age of 10. Get the picture? So you can't blame us for getting excited when the iPads become part of the daily lessons in your classrooms. And it's not so much that our attention span is short, it's that everything is faster. Information is at our fingertips. I can travel right past the Eiffel Tower in Paris on Google Maps right from my phone. I can take virtual tours of the Smithsonian and can be texting 4 different friends at the same time. Multitasking is normal. It's how we learn. And we're learning from some of your examples as well. Journaling your lives on Facebook? Is that really a good thing? And how many of you can really say you look like your profile pictures? In my opinion, there are some downsides to the internet. Online shopping has created a loss of jobs in retails, and most of you adults see the internet as really impersonal, and we've created a new abbreviated form of language. LOL, IDK, TTYL, and #epic. And because I can get so much information and research already done online, it conditions me to not think critically on my own and to not problem solve by myself. Someone's already done that for me. While I can't imagine my life without technology, it's still up to you adults to help me create a balance. I need it to help supplement your lessons in the classroom instead of lecturing me all day. But I don't want the keypad on my smartphone to become the key to my friendships and relationships. Sometimes it's better to talk face to face and to not FaceTime on the iPhone. I want to make one more point before I close. I may have given you the impression that I'm the kind of student that will learn despite you. But the truth is, I know what it's like to have a learning disability. You see, my brother Carter has autism, and he has trouble focusing in class. I see my parents struggle with him at times because he doesn't always understand rules, and he doesn't always know that he's hurting people's feelings by what he says, and he doesn't have very many friends. He represents another section of your classroom population where you're expected to teach us all the same and teach us all at different paces. As I get older, my respect for teachers grows greater because you know little about where your students are coming from. Like Perla, she couldn't even bring all this anger and hostility into the class. Or like me, when I sometimes think I'm smarter than you. Or like my little brother Carter, that is physically in class and has trouble communicating with others around him. But there are elements and conditions that can bring us all together, such as a teacher that loves their job, such as a teacher that has a passion for their position, a teacher that immerses themselves in making sure I am successful even after leaving their classroom, such as administrators that know my name, like cafeteria ladies that love to cook, like the coaches that love the heat outside, such as a custodian that has the kind of wisdom and respect for getting an education. It takes all of you sitting in this room, so commit yourselves today, and let me hear that commitment by giving yourselves a round of applause. I love going to school in Weslaco. I love that my mom's a special education teacher and that my grandma committed over 35 years working for the students of Weslaco. I'm going into junior high at Central Middle School. OMG, right? And I'm looking forward to meeting all my new teachers. This is really my first time in front of a large group like you, and I want to thank you for being so kind. It's going to be a great year as we take another step towards our superintendent's vision of 21st century learning. Thank you.